this guy. And then below that, we can just start doing some list tiles. So the leading icon, list tiles. So the leading icon, let's do home. And for the title, let's say dashboard. Like this. And maybe we'll just create a few more. All right, cool. So for example, right? Right in our mobile scaffold, let's say we have just this blank app. We have this dark app bar. And we got this
It's not defeat that defines you. It's how you bounce back. Reach your impossible. Lenovo Legion.
Say we have just this blank app. We have this dark app bar, and we got this dashboard as well. Now, if I drag this out, you can see it's just gonna go to blue, right? But I still want the other scaffolds to have a menu bar like this. And so if you're gonna reuse code multiple times, it's a good idea to create a separate file called constants. Constants meaning values that are not going to change. So what do I mean by this? Well, we could say like I'm going to reuse this app bar, right? So we can say var like variable my app bar is equal to this. Also var my drawer is equal to my drawer is equal to this. And you can also say like something like my default background is equal to this color. Right, so now that you have all the repeating values in this constants file, we can now simplify our code a bit. So instead of having to this color, right? So now that you have all the repeating values in this constants file, we can now simplify our code a bit. So instead of having to specify it each time, we can just say my app bar This one can be my default background. This one can be my drawer. Okay, so that cleans up a lot. And then we can go to the tablet scaffold. And for the background color, we can just say my default background color. And for the app bar, let's just do the same app bar. And the drawer, we're gonna do my drawer. Cool, so currently we're in the mobile version, and even if we go to the tablet version, it's still essentially the same. App that has this menu drawer. one little, I guess, bonus I'll show you how to do is once you get to the desktop version, since we have a lot of space, I'll get this drawer to just show up and without having to press this button. So let's actually do that now. So in the desktop scaffold now, the background color is just the default background, and the app bar is still my app bar. And now instead of specifying the drawer like this, which is going to give us this little menu icon, let's just start filling it out in the body. And I'm going to say in the row, let's have the open drawer. And then we'll have the rest of the body after that. So let's say currently we're in mobile version. And so we can open the drawer, same thing as a tablet version. But if we get to this, like a desktop, you can see I just want to have the menu open by default without having to click on the button. Since if you're in a desktop view, you're going to have a lot of space, right? So it'll open up the menu drawer like this. And if you go to tablet version, then it'll just hide itself. Okay, so if you look at a lot of dashboards, they have this side menu showing up, right? So that's how you get that one. Cool, so far so good. Now let's just close the desktop and the scaffold again just for now. And let's just focus on the mobile scaffold, but the body of the mobile scaffold. So I'm going to create a overall column. And let's create a bit of a plan. So for this layout, I want to help it. So I'm going to have a grid view, but I'm going to use a grid view builder. Again, if you need more understanding about grid views, I made a separate tutorial covering just grid views and the builder. So please check that out if you want more in depth about it. But I can just show you real quick how to make it. So the grid delegate. So this sliver grid delegate with fixed cross axis count is what I'm going to use. And this thing basically, if you look at this cross axis count, you can specify like how many you want in each row of this grid. So for this one, in the mobile version, I kind of want 4 boxes that is 2 by 2. So let's say I want 2 in each row. And in the item builder, we want to have we want to return, let's say, a container, and let's give it a color, blue. And also we can specify the item count. Let's just say I want to create 4 boxes. Now I think blue, and let's give it a color, blue. And also we can specify the item count. Let's just say I want to create 4 boxes. Now I think we should have some error because this is a very common error, the render box not being laid out. So that's because this grid view needs a specified constraint. So I'm going to wrap it in a sized box, and for the width, I'm just going to say double.infinity. And also an aspect ratio of 1. Cool, so here it is. Now we actually can't see also an aspect ratio of 1. Cool, so here it is. Now we actually can't see what's going on because this container is all stuck together. So let's just add a padding to this container. And we should be able to see what's going on. So yeah, we created 4 boxes, 2 in each row, and yeah, it's just a blue container. So if you actually drag this window a bit smaller, it's gonna be proportioned nicely, and that's what this aspect ratio is doing. So in responsive design, this widget comes in particularly handy because you don't want to use fixed values like fixed width and height all the time, especially when your screen size keeps changing. So what this aspect ratio of 1 is saying, if you hover over this, it's a ratio of the width to the height. So a ratio of 1 means it's a square, right? Like the width to the height is a ratio of 1. So that's what I did here. And at this point, I want to encapsulate a bit of my code so that we can reuse it, namely this little container that we just created. I'm going to create a new file called utilities. So just util. And in this file, in this folder, I like to create the little different widgets that we have in our app that we can reuse. So this one I'm going to call my box. So we'll just call it my box, and we're going to return the little container that we just created. So return the little container that we just created. So this is really useful to encapsulate because then we can just return my box. Return. So we'll just call it my box, and we're going to return. The little container that so we'll just call it my box, and we're going to return the little container that we just created. So this is really useful to encapsulate because then we can just return my box. And just while we're here, I'm going to create another file called my tile. And so it's going to be very similar to the box, but just so that we can see the difference, let's just switch up the color again. But for this one, want to actually specify a certain height, let's say like 80. Cool, so coming back to our mobile scaffold, we have a grid, and under this, let's just fill up the rest of this. The space with an expanded widget, and I'm going to use a list view builder this time. So very similar to a grid view, except for this is just a list. Cool, and let's just say I want to return like 5 of these. A list view builder this time. So very similar to a grid view, except for this is just a list. Cool, and let's just say I want to return like 5 of these. Let's see what this looks like. Cool, so this should just be a basic layout for a particular app, right? You've got some grids up here and then some lists down here as well. So as this gets longer, let's make these 4 objects into like a singular 4 line. Okay, so basically I just want to stretch out this UI. So right now, again, if I just stretch it out, it's just going to go to the tablet body, right? Right, so what I'm going to do is let's just copy this column. Yeah, okay, so I basically X into like, let's make layout for a particular app, right? You've got some grids up here longer, like a singular 4 line. Okay, so basically I just want to stretch out this UI. So right now, again, if I just stretch it out, it's just going to go to the tablet. Copy this column. Tablet scaffold. And return it here as well. And go to the tablet scaffold. And return it tablet this column. And go to the tablet scaffold. And return it here as well. Let's just import tablet scaffold and return it here. let's just import our little files. Now, without changing anything, our mobile scaffold and tablet scaffold have the same exact code. So let's just see what happens if we drag this out. If I go to like tablet mode, you can see that it's still got the same aspect ratio, and so this is not really a good experience for the user, right? Everything's just zooming in. Okay, so at this point, I want to flatten these out so that we have 4 in a single row. So that's an easy fix. Remember, in our cross-axis count, let's change this to 4 in each row. And if I save this, so currently we are in the mobile version. If I stretch this out, and let's change this. That's an easy fix. Remember, in our cross-axis count, let's change this to 4 in each row. And if I save this, so currently we are in the mobile version. If I stretch this out, then you can see it just becomes a flat row, right? And at this point, because I know that this is going to be a 4-box row, in the aspect ratio, the ratio of width to height is going to be 4. So if I just save this, you can have this nice responsive layout like this. Ratio of width in the aspect ratio, the ratio of width to height is going to be 4. So if I just save this, you can have this nice responsive layout like this. So hopefully that made sense. Just let me know if you have any issues at all with any of this understanding. I'm happy to come into the comments and help you out. But this is just the general idea on how to make your app responsive. So when the user is in like a mobile version, it's a certain view. And as we drag out, we can change the layout such that it's nice and responsive. Cool. And then finally, let's go to the desktop as well. And desktop, we already got the menu bar coming out. Again, let's grab this column. And let's go to the desktop scaffold. And with this one, it's a row initially because we wanted to have this dashboard showing up. And so in the middle, we'll display what the other 2 scaffolds had. But as we stretch out even further, I want to have a 3rd column with some more widgets, like more information. Okay, so currently we have the drawer on the very left, And then for now, let's just expand the rest of the space and give it that column that we had in the other two scaffolds. So again, I'm just going to copy this, and expand the rest of the space and give it that column that we had in the other two scaffolds. So again, I'm just going to copy this, and so let's just save this and see how this looks. So we're at give it that column. Let's just expand the rest of the space and give it that column that we had in the other two scaffolds. So again, I'm just going to copy this, and so let's just save this and see how this looks. So we're at mobile now, and then tablet, and then once we get to desktop, this drags out. So again, I'm just going to copy this, and so let's just save this and see how this looks. So we're at mobile now. And then tablet, and then once we get to desktop, this drags out, but you can see this column is still the same as your tablet, right? Which is fine, but I want to get to a point where once I stretch even further, I want to have a new column, so that maybe you can have like a calendar, you can have like a clock there, or there's a lot of different widgets you could put there if this was a dashboard. So that's what I want to do. So how do we do this? So in this overall row, we got the drawer first, and then we're going to expand the rest of the space with this column. And then below that, let's expand another one, and let's just create a random column. Cool, so you can see as I drag this out, we're in tablet, and then let's go to desktop, and we have and then let's go to desktop, and we have this third column showing up. As I drag this out, we're in tablet, and then below that, and then we're going to expand the rest of the space with this column. And then below that, let's expand C. As I drag this out, we're in tablet, and then let's go to desktop, and we have this third column showing up, right? Now, one great thing about expanded widgets is you can proportion things out using this flex property. So for example, right, let's say I want this first column to be a flex of 2, meaning I want it to be 2 times as big as everything else. So right now you can see like this column size and that column size in terms of the width, they're the same. But if I put a flex of 2 on this green section, you can see now it's like 2 to 1. Okay, so you can have this nice gradual, but if like this column size and that column size in terms of the width, they're the same. But if I put a flex of 2 on this green section, can see now it's like 2 to 1. Okay, so you can have this nice gradual effect, so it's not too jarring for the user. So this is a simple approach in how to make your app responsive. Just to sort of summarize again, in my main function, the very first thing I'm returning is this responsive layout widget, which determines if we should display a mobile or tablet or desktop version, right? So again, I put the responsive related things in this responsive folder. And this file is, I would say, the most important file in this whole tutorial, right? So in this, we need to give it our mobile scaffold, our tablet scaffold, and our desktop scaffold that we can decorate up. And we're going to use this layout builder to see what the constraints are for our current window. And just take a look at the width and say, okay, if you're less than 500 pixels, then return a mobile. If it's less than 1100 pixels, then return the tablet. And then finally, if it's above all that, then return your desktop. And then in your individual files, your mobile, tablet, and desktop scaffold, this is where you can just fill out the UI sort of as you would normally. And one sort of MVP widget that was very helpful in making our design very responsive is aspect ratio. So you can see I barely used any fixed height or width in this code. Sometimes you're going to have to make some certain things a fixed height or width, but for the most part in a responsive design, because your screen keeps changing sizes, I'm just going to say, all right, just fill up however much space you have. And instead, I'm just going to use things like aspect ratios to control how I want these widgets to look. And so aspect ratio and expanded widgets to fill up the rest of the space. These were some pretty handy widgets for us to use to make our design responsive. Hopefully that made sense. Like I said, if you have any questions on any of this, just let me know below and I'll come around and try to help. But once you got the responsive layout like this done, from here, I would say this is the fun part in terms of like building out the little UI, right? And also different people have different UI needs. Like you might be making a finance dashboard. I was making a habit tracker dashboard, and some people want to make like an education dashboard. So obviously it depends on your app, right? But those specifics, building like the UIs and stuff, I think we've had a lot of practice on them, and I would say that's the fun part. You can just fill out the individual widgets. But the overall layout of all this, hopefully you understood how to make this responsive design. And for this one, I'll link the code below so that you all can use it. Sweet, so that's what I had planned for this video. Play around with it and let me know if you have any issues, but other than that, thanks for watching and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace!
लेकिन जैसे अगर वो लॉग इन हो गया सब कुछ सही रहा तो हम नेक्स्ट पेज पे हेलो एवरीवन तो आज वाली क्लास में हम देखने वाले हैं कि शेयर्ड प्रेफरेंस कहां यूज में आता है जब हम एक प्रोफेशनल लेवल की जब ऐप बनाएँगे, बिल्ड करेंगे तो उसमें शेयर्ड प्रेफ़रेंस हेलो एवरीवन, तो आज वाली क्लास में हम देखने वाले हैं कि किस तरीके से हम हमारी फ्लटर एप्लीकेशन के अंदर परसिस्टेंटली डेटा को स्टोर करवा सकते हैं, यानी कि लोकली परसिस्टेंट डेटा को कैसे स्टोर करवाना है, ये आज की क्लास में हम देखने वाले हैं। सबसे पहले समझते हैं कि डेटा स्टोरेज करने की जरूरत क्यों पड़ती है और जब हम स्टोर करते हैं तो हमारे पास में क्या क्या ऑप्शंस रहते हैं, और आज जो हमारा टॉपिक है शेयर्ड प्रेफरेंस, ये कैसे हमको हेल्प करेगा डेटा को स्टोर करने के लिए। तो सबसे पहले समझते हैं कि डेटा स्टोरेज की जरूरत क्यों पड़ती है। देखो, जब हमारी कोई ऐप को रन कर रहा है, जो हमारी ऐप को चला रहा है, जो यूजर है, तो उसका कुछ पर्सनल डेटा होगा जो वो हमारी ऐप के थ्रू जनरेट हो रहा है। ठीक है, जैसे कि अगर उसने लॉगिन किया तो उसके जो लॉगिन की जो डिटेल्स है वो हमारे पास में स्टोर्ड रहनी चाहिए, सो दैट उसको बार बार लॉगिन ना करना पड़े। फिर वो प्रोफाइल में गया, या कुछ ऐसी डिटेल्स हैं जो उसने शेयर कर रखी है, या कुछ ऐसी डिटेल्स हैं जो उस पर्टिकुलर ऐप को चलाने में उसका काम आसान कर देती है। जैसे कि उसने प्रीवियसली जब ये वीडियो चलाया हमारी ऐप के अंदर तो उसने इतना देख लिया था। अब मैं चाहता हूँ कि जब वो वापस इस वीडियो पे आए ना तो इसके आगे से ही शुरू हो। तो ये जो रीडिंग्स है, ये जो यूजर ओरिएंटेड पर्टिकुलर डेटा है, या डेटा का मतलब क्या हो गया, इन्फॉर्मेशन। ठीक है, तो यहाँ मैं इन्फॉर्मेशन किसकी बात कर रहा हूँ, मैं ऑल ओवर द ग्लोब की जो हमारी ऐप के अंदर की रिक्वायरमेंट है उसकी बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ, मैं सिर्फ यूजर स्पेसिफिक डेटा की बात कर रहा हूँ। तो जो यूजर स्पेसिफिक डेटा है वो हमारी ऐप के अंदर हमको मैनेज करना रहेगा, और मैनेज भी ऐसा कि लोकली हम उसको मैनेज कर सके। ऐसा नहीं हो कि रन टाइम मैनेज करे, जिससे कि क्या होगा कि जब तक ऐप चल रही है तब तक तो डेटा मैनेज है, और जैसे ही हमारी ऐप क्लोज हो जाए तो डेटा डिस्ट्रॉय हो जाए। वो आप नॉर्मली वेरिएबल में स्टोर करवा सकते हो, वो चीज आप नॉर्मली एक स्क्रीन से दूसरे स्क्रीन में जब आप जा रहे हो तब भी आप स्विच करा सकते हो। बट जैसे ही वो ऐप क्लोज होगी या डिस्ट्रॉय होगी, तो वो जो डेटा है वो आपका क्या हो जाएगा, डिस्ट्रॉय हो जाएगा। तो वो यूजर का डेटा हमको मैनेज करके रखना है, यानी कि नेक्स्ट टाइम जब वो हमारी ऐप में आए तो प्रीवियस डेटा उसके लिए हमारी ऐप का जो एक्सपीरियंस है और आसान कर दे, मतलब जो हमारा यूएक्स है वो और स्ट्रांग हो जाए। कि यार, पिछली बार जब मैंने लॉगिन किया था और जब मैं ऐप क्लोज करके गया और अब मैं जैसे ही ऐप को ओपन कर रहा हूँ तो ऐप ने डायरेक्ट मेरे को होम पे स्विच किया, क्योंकि ऐप ने ऑटोमेटिकली ये चीज स्टोर करवा दी कि इस यूजर ने प्रीवियसली लॉगिन कर लिया था। अब जब भी वो ऐप हेलो एवरीवन, तो आज वाली क्लास में हम देखने वाले हैं कि किस तरीके से हम हमारी फ्लटर एप्लीकेशन के अंदर परसिस्टेंटली डेटा को स्टोर करवा सकते हैं, यानी कि लोकली परसिस्टेंट डेटा को कैसे स्टोर करवाना है, ये आज की क्लास में हम देखने वाले हैं। सबसे पहले समझते हैं कि डेटा स्टोरेज करने की जरूरत क्यों पड़ती है, और जब हम स्टोर करते हैं तो हमारे पास में क्या क्या ऑप्शंस रहते हैं, और आज जो हमारा टॉपिक है शेयर्ड प्रेफरेंस, ये कैसे हमको हेल्प करेगा डेटा को स्टोर करने के लिए। तो सबसे पहले समझते हैं कि डेटा स्टोरेज की जरूरत क्यों पड़ती है। देखो, जब हमारी कोई ऐप को रन कर रहा है, जो हमारी ऐप को चला रहा है, जो यूजर है, तो उसका कुछ पर्सनल डेटा होगा जो वो हमारी ऐप के थ्रू जनरेट हो रहा है। ठीक है, जैसे कि अगर उसने लॉगिन किया तो उसके जो लॉगिन की जो डिटेल्स है वो हमारे पास में स्टोर्ड रहनी चाहिए, सो दैट उसको बार बार लॉगिन ना करना पड़े। फिर वो प्रोफाइल में गया, या कुछ ऐसी डिटेल्स हैं जो उसने शेयर कर रखी है, या कुछ ऐसी डिटेल्स हैं जो उस पर्टिकुलर ऐप को चलाने में उसका काम आसान कर देती है। जैसे कि उसने प्रीवियसली जब ये वीडियो चलाया हमारी ऐप के अंदर तो उसने इतना देख लिया था। अब मैं चाहता हूँ कि जब वो वापस इस वीडियो पे आए ना तो इसके आगे से ही शुरू हो। तो ये जो रीडिंग्स है, ये जो यूजर ओरिएंटेड पर्टिकुलर डेटा है, या डेटा का मतलब क्या हो गया, इन्फॉर्मेशन। ठीक है, तो यहाँ मैं इन्फॉर्मेशन किसकी बात कर रहा हूँ, मैं ऑल ओवर द ग्लोब की जो हमारी ऐप के अंदर की रिक्वायरमेंट है उसकी बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ, मैं सिर्फ यूजर स्पेसिफिक डेटा की बात कर रहा हूँ। तो जो यूजर स्पेसिफिक डेटा है वो हमारी ऐप के अंदर हमको मैनेज करना रहेगा, और मैनेज भी ऐसा कि लोकली हम उसको मैनेज कर सके। ऐसा नहीं हो कि रन टाइम मैनेज करे, जिससे कि क्या होगा कि जब तक ऐप चल रही है तब तक तो डेटा मैनेज है, और जैसे ही हमारी ऐप क्लोज हो जाए तो डेटा डिस्ट्रॉय हो जाए। वो आप नॉर्मली वेरिएबल में स्टोर करवा सकते हो, वो चीज आप नॉर्मली एक स्क्रीन से दूसरे स्क्रीन में जब आप जा रहे हो तब भी आप स्विच करा सकते हो। बट जैसे ही वो ऐप क्लोज होगी या डिस्ट्रॉय होगी, तो वो जो डेटा है वो आपका क्या हो जाएगा, डिस्ट्रॉय हो जाएगा। तो वो यूजर का डेटा हमको मैनेज करके रखना है, यानी कि नेक्स्ट टाइम जब वो हमारी ऐप में आए तो प्रीवियस डेटा उसके लिए हमारी ऐप का जो एक्सपीरियंस है और आसान कर दे, मतलब जो हमारा यूएक्स है वो और स्ट्रांग हो जाए। कि यार, पिछली बार जब मैंने लॉगिन किया था और जब मैं ऐप क्लोज करके गया और अब मैं जैसे ही ऐप को ओपन कर रहा हूँ तो ऐप ने डायरेक्ट मेरे को होम पे स्विच किया, क्योंकि ऐप ने ऑटोमेटिकली ये चीज स्टोर करवा दी कि इस यूजर ने प्रीवियसली लॉग इन कर लिया था, अब जब भी वो ऐप ओपन करेगा तो हम उसको लॉग्ड इन रखेंगे, ठीक है। एंड जैसे वो लॉग आउट बटन पर टैप करेगा तो ये भी चीज मैनेज है कि अब लॉग आउट होने के बाद अगर वो ऐप क्लोज कर देता है और जब नेक्स्ट टाइम ओपन करता है तो अब लॉग इन स्क्रीन आनी चाहिए, ठीक है। ऐसे ही सेम चीज है कि भाई लोकल कोई हेल्प करे उसके एक्सपीरियंस को और अच्छा करने के लिए, तो उस डेटा को हम लोकली स्टोर करवाते हैं हमारे ऐप के अंदर ही। देखिए अब यहाँ पे भी दो ऑप्शंस होते हैं। अब ये दो ऑप्शन कौन से होते हैं, एक होता है हमारे पास में शेयर्ड प्रेफरेंस, एक होता है डेटाबेस मैनेजमेंट। कि हम अगर लार्जर सेट ऑफ डेटा को मैनेज कर रहे हैं, यानी कि बहुत ज्यादा डेटा है, बहुत मल्टीलिंगुअल डेटा है, उसको अगर आपको मैनेज करना है, तो उस केस में क्या होगा कि भाई लार्ज डेटा भी, और साथ ही साथ जब आपको रिक्वायर्ड है तो लार्ज डेटा में सारा डेटा नहीं चाहिएगा, आपको कुछ सिलेक्टेड डेटा चाहिएगा। तो यहाँ पे हम क्वेरी जनरेट करके वो सिलेक्टेड डेटा को निकाल पाए, तो उस केस में हम एक पूरा डेटाबेस मैनेजमेंट को यूज करेंगे, यानी कि हमारा एक टाइप का डेटाबेस हम क्रिएट करवाएंगे और उसके अंदर हम डेटा को मैनेज करवाएंगे। लेकिन जब हमको बहुत ही कम डेटा और सिंपलर डेटा का स्टोर करना है, यानी कि यूजर का, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल एक यूजर लॉगिन करेगा तो मेरे को सिर्फ उस यूजर से रिगार्डिंग 10-15 जो वैल्यूज है या 20 वैल्यूज जो है वो स्टोर करवानी है, ठीक है। तो उस केस में मैं डेटाबेस की हेल्प नहीं लूंगा। उस केस में अगर मैं डेटाबेस की हेल्प लेता हूं तो उसका कोई सेंस नहीं, क्योंकि अगर हम डेटाबेस को भी इंक्लूड करें, कर तो सकते ही हम यहाँ पे भी, फिर मैं आपको दोनों ऑप्शन बताता हूँ, शेयर्ड प्रेफरेंस को भी आप यूज कर सकते हो, डेटाबेस को भी आप यूज कर सकते हो। बट आपको डिसाइड करना है कि कौन सा डेटा आप किस तरीके से मैनेज करवाओगे लोकली, ठीक है। तो अगर लार्जर डेटा सेट है तो उस केस में फिर आप क्या यूज करोगे, डेटाबेस को यूज करोगे। अगर स्मॉलर डेटा सेट है, यानी कि कम डेटा है और यूजर स्पेसिफिक डेटा ही है, तो उस केस में डेटाबेस को ना यूज करके मैं शेयर्ड प्रेफरेंस को भी यूज कर सकता हूँ। ये भी हमारे डेटा को लोकली स्टोर करता है और मैनेज